Hi guys, welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. In this episode, as you can see, we're going to focus on my TELEFUNKEN M15, as I promised several videos ago. Are you ready to dive in? Let's take a look, guys. Okay, so we're just going to do a brief overview of the various elements, a few info on the machine, and then we're going to listen also to a tape, okay? This is just to get a little bit confident, to understand why this is such a great master recorder. So, we're talking about the TELEFUNKEN or Magnetophon M15, guys. As you may know, a lot of you I know, they know also the other model, the newer model, the M15A, which came afterwards. Just to roughly say the differences, the M15 is renowned for being the best playback machine. In fact, it was broadly present in Germany, in West and East Germany in the past century, because it was cheap, it was reliable, and it was excellent for playback. Instead, the following model, the M15A, was fantastic, was great for recording. So according to these uses, I suggest to pick the model you're more interested in, according, as I said, to what you're going to use it more. Usually today, we're going to use it more for playback, so I highly recommend this model. Don't listen just to me. I mean, tons of people, in fact, Asia is now going crazy for this machine because they understood that the quality of the reproduction of the music coming from an M15 is amazing. As good or even better, according to a lot of people, than Studer models, any other model you can think of, Otari, the Nagra, or the following models by TELEFUNKEN. I mean, it's the best of the best. Probably, if we go back in time instead, like the M10 or the C37, M10 of TELEFUNKEN, C37 of Studer, these are tube concept master recorders. Those are even better. If you're looking for a machine, a true master recorder, with high quality playback, that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, a professional machine like this, go for them, because you're really gonna find them out and about in Europe. Obviously, not in America. They're very difficult to find, but in Europe they're cheap. There are dozens of them in Germany, and a lot of people are selling them for just a few $100, euro. Okay, so that's what happened to me. Obviously, look for those who have a low number of hours. Afterwards, I'll show you where and how. So let's just get acquainted now with the main aspects, the main parts, okay? Let's start. So this is a nice cover I made. In a future video, if you want, I will tell you how to make your own plexiglass covers. So here we have our nice, very basic machine. I think I'll get a little bit closer now. As you can see, this is the machine, and this instead is an enclosure that the guy who sold it to me gave me and told me this is one of the original versions, possible solutions there were to host the machine, because this is a 55 kilo baby and you really need a dedicated piece of furniture or something to hold it. So please bear in mind, this is a gigantic and very heavy baby. That's something a lot of people don't like, and that's why they go to something different like the A810 by Studer. So let's go back to our nice TELEFUNKEN. So this was mainly developed in response to the A80 by Studer. So we're talking around the 60s, 70s. And this model is one of the last versions of the M15. In fact, a lot of you might say, no, it's an M15A because it has the display. In fact, most versions do not have this display. Okay, they just have a normal analogic counter with the little black numbers and white numbers. This is digital instead. It's one of the very last models, but it's an M15, as you can see here. I think you can see it here. As you can see, it is very, very simple and basic. We just have the two areas where you put the tape. After we will see them more in detail. This is where the tape goes through. As you can see, some of you may say, where are the heads? The heads are the opposite side because this is the so-called German winding. What is the German winding? Well, this is a solution adopted mainly in Germany, where you have practically all the heads on the opposite side. Hence, you also have to have the tape winded on your spool, on your reel, in a different manner, on the opposite way. It isn't a big problem because when you put a reel, you just have to twist it here. And at that point, you have it in the right direction. No problem at all. But it has to be on the other side, obviously, because if you have the heads here, like for example, I have in my Telefunken, like every other machine does actually, then you just have to have, obviously, the reading side facing this way. When you have the heads on this part, obviously, the oxide with the information has to face this other way. So that's why you have to wind or somehow change the direction, the face of the tape in order to have a proper playback. As you can see, very simple commands: fast and forward, record, playback, stop. The two types of velocity, 38 centimeters, because obviously this is our European machine, so it's in centimeters. 38 centimeters, which obviously corresponds to 15 inches per second, and 19 centimeters per second, which corresponds to 7.5 inches per second. Here are the two types of adapters, because according to this, you're going to use a different, we can say, torque of the motor. But I'll tell you something a little bit on this afterwards because it's not so obvious. You do not look at the shape, otherwise you might have some issues. This is just a normal display. This is a reset button of the display. This little lever is truly fantastic. I think I have to get closer to show you. Yes. So this little guy here is very cool because you simply move it this way to go back and forward. It's that simple. In fact, it's a fantastic mechanism that that I've never seen on any other tape recorder. And it's very useful, especially if you have to find an exact point, you have to splice tape. It's fantastic. It's not just you have to press a button on the other ones, and sometimes then you have to immediately press stop, otherwise it goes fast and it's putting stress on the tape. With this, you can go ahead very, very slowly or back very, very slowly. That's very cool. Let's see if I can get a little bit more inside here. Okay, so as you can see here, we have the very basic commands. Here you can see how many hours this machine has, which is pretty good, 1,261. That's nothing compared to a broadcast machine. And as you can see, we have the first button dedicated to the power. The second button, as I said, is dedicated to the type of spool. Always use this top one when you use large spools, regardless if it has a Trident or Chine attachment, okay? Always use this type, which is going to lighten up here, for large spools. Otherwise, the torque of the motor is not going to be enough. When you use small spools, you put this. Then you're going to use a softer, lower energy, we could say, okay? So on this type of machine, I think we're always going to use this one on top. The other button, as you can see, the buttons are here below, is obviously for the speed. And this one is just to determine if you want to have a remote control or not. So that's that's it. And here you have your splicing little tool. You just put the tape here, and you can cut it if you need that. And that's about it. I want to show you a little bit inside the machine, what it looks like, okay? So we're going to take this part off, and I'm going to show you the inside, the heart, the stomach of this baby. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, I think you can see it. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, you have 4 channels, and this obviously are the 2 channels for the output, and this instead are for the input. As you can see, these are high quality cables that I did by myself. The unfortunate part of this machine is that you need a two-shell type of connector, because in the past they had this type, this 3-polar with very flat and long silver conductors, which are very good. They're very good, but unfortunately you can't find them anymore. So I had to find these on eBay, and I had to build my own cables and put an RCA cable on the other side. If you have a balanced connection, that would be even better, and just put a normal XLR on the other side. Here you need a 2-shell connection, but you can find them on eBay. They're not very cheap, but not even too much expensive. So in the end, I mean, it's rather an easy step to do, but you have to do that. A lot of people change this whole faceplate, but I do not recommend to do that. Keep the original, very high quality connections, as you can see here. Okay, now I'll show you the motor inside. Let's take a look. So I will detach for a second these. They're screwed on. Okay. Here we go. Okay. As you can see, most of the master recorders, even the Studers, have all their electronics subdivided like this in cartridges. So it's very easy to maintain, to repair specific parts instead of having the whole circuits like we have today. You just need to get one of these little cartridges and see what's the problem and replace it very easily. Also, you can do some upgrades. I'm not a technician, I'm not an expert on all these. Let me blow away this dirt. So I don't know exactly what are all these, but obviously they're different parts for the different speeds. Obviously we have the preamplification part. As you can see, they're all discrete components. Very high quality stuff, guys. So since we're here, I'm gonna start the little baby and let's hear it. Let's hear it rumble. I'm gonna open here. I'd open this, turn it on. So as you can hear, the motor does make a little bit of noise, but it's nothing terrible. Okay, I think we can close it back and start looking in detail on the upper part. Okay guys, we're again on top. As you can see, the machine is now turned on. It is stopped. It is set at 38 centimeters per second, which is 15 inch per second. Centimeters, 38 centimeters is 15 inch per second. It is set as to the AEG DIN type of adapter, as I explained before. As you can see here, the capstan is rolling, so we're ready. This is the tape guide is ready to accept the tape, So let's try. Oh, before starting, I wanted to show you a little bit of the solutions we have for the adapters. First of all, for this type of machine, you need a specific type of plates, let's say, of adapters, which are these. You can find them in different types, but you do need this special. It may change. It may not be like this. It may be even in higher quality. This is plastic. This instead is metal. It's very high quality metal. But you do need specific type of plates for the TELEFUNKEN M15, which you can find them on eBay, absolutely. So you have to play, because they practically grab on these little hinges here. Okay, so we just have to find the correct position. Just putting them here like that. There you go, 1, 2, okay. At this point, you can go with a Trident or Chine solution. See, these are made on purpose for the TELEFUNKEN because they have this screw part, which you just screw in directly in this part of the machine if you want. Because a lot of spools, a lot of tapes do have this type of adapter, the Trident one, the triangular one with 3, as you can see, I think you can see, with 3 knobs, which we have already seen in, for example, here in this typical Studer Revox adapter. This, you need this type, okay, which is gonna pop out like that. You're gonna pull it out, and then you're gonna somehow fix it here, moving it. But this is not the preferred solution actually for these. I do use these, but not that often, especially now that I have other solutions, because you know the problems of the adapters are numerous. So the best thing is to find these. These are specifically designed for this machine. Again, they're not easy to find, but you can find them on Hi-Fi Shark or on eBay. So these, again, you just screw them in. These are AEG adapters, the one we were talking about before. Since the best thing here, since you have a flat machine and not like my other Studer, which you've seen in another video, here's a link. When they're facing upwards, it's a little more hard, a little more difficult to handle pancakes. You can do it, I do it, no problem. But obviously, when you have a flat machine, it is much easier to handle, absolutely. I mean, you don't know how many times tapes goes out and about. You have problems when it's winding. When it's laid down like this, it is much, much easier, believe me. So, you can use something like this. You can find adapters in order to put the NAB type of spools. I'm not going to go in all too much in the types of adapters. Take a look at that link I've showed you before, where I go in depth in that. This is something you can find, which you can use only if it's flat. If it's upwards, it's not going to work. I don't think it's very good because, as you know, a lot of problems come from the NAB adapter, see? Which is actually the best because it's nice and large and it has these 3 little recessions, we could say. So when you have spools that go here, you have to imagine the tape around this. You can't do anything because you have an AEG DIN. So as I've showed you, I think in the other video, I found these, which are excellent, they're fantastic. If you want them, you can find the link in that video, in the video description of that video. Where you just click them on, very high quality, all machine made, precision machine made. So at that point, see, you have the shape for an AEG adapter, but at the same time, you can host NAB adapter. So you just put it on like that, and there you go. You're set. So, apart from that, let's put a tape on. Let's see what adapter we need, because I don't even remember what every tape has. Let's listen to a classic. Let's listen to this here. Bill Evans Trio, Sunday at the Village Vanguard. Fantastic album. Copy of the original master. As I said in other videos, I do not know which stage, which generation this tape is. It might be a first, a second, a third, probably a second or a third, but the quality is very good. It's on one of the best type of tape, the SM900, which is still made now, again today, thanks to Recording the Masters, Mulan Industries. So what do we have here? Very nice, I see. Here are a little bit of informations on the magnetic flux. There are the tones at the beginning in order to properly set, if you want, the playback. As you can see, I forgot to mention, one of the problems of this machine is that it does not have VU or peak meters. So it's very hard to calibrate the machine. If you are recording, you're going to need to buy a separate piece of equipment in order to have the indications of the VU meters. Otherwise, it's very, very hard. You're not going to have any control on that. So that could be a good idea. If it's just for playback, no problem at all. Go ahead, as I'm doing. That is also why I have two master recorders, because on my Telefunken, as you've seen in that video, I have VU meters. I have both equalizations, CCIR and NAB. I also forgot to say that this is a CCIR, because in Europe you're mainly going to find the CCIR type of equalization, which is the best actually, so might as well stick with that. Okay, so here we have a nice metal spool, Revox. As you can see, it's a NAB, so we're going to need an adapter for that. So let's put the tape here for a second. Wait, we have to check if it's tails out or tails in. Let's take a look. I want to do these things with you guys. As you remember, tails out, in fact this is tails out, means you have to rewind the tape before playing back. That is very good in order to have an optimal winding at the end, and it also prevents, as we said, print through of the tape. That's why a lot of people have this, and that is why also the German winding is adopted, because the tape is facing on the outer side, and again that, according to them, would prevent even more the effect of the print through. Print through, as we said, is that effect of magnetizing the lower film magnetize a little bit the upper part, and vice versa, and that way you do have a passage of the magnetic field to the other layer of tape. Hence, you have that signal also on the other part of the film. Maybe that's not that clear. I'll just make an example, as I did in the other movie, in the other film video. When you put a tape, or even a record, because records come from tape, most of the ancient release, past release, when you put the first track, you start hearing the first track very, very slowly, like it's playing in another room or very far away. That's print through, and you can hear it because obviously you're not listening to music for that moment. Then when the music starts, you're not going to hear it anymore. But we don't want that. So these are all techniques or methods to prevent that effect. So we're going to need an adapter, as we said. So we're going to start putting, since we already have here, we don't need this as a pancake. I'm just going to put on this directly here. There you go. Very simple, very cool. You put it on, and there we go. As I said, a lot of times it's better if you do on the pickup part, in this case, since we're gonna first rewind it. In any case, on the other side, you have to have something similar, okay? in order not to stress too much the motor. So if we have a metal spool, it's good to have a metal spool over here. If you have a pancake, it's good to have a pancake also over here. You know those things. So in this case, I'm going to have to take out a metal spool, which I have on purpose for this. This is a professional TDK spool, very cool, which will give me a similar type of weight. So again, I'm going to have to put this on. There we go. Fix it here. Oh, I forgot to say, obviously, when you have metal spools, you don't need the plates. So actually, we can take these off. I forgot to mention that. You can keep them on, but it's not a good idea because there's obviously gonna be some friction. So it's just better if you take these off if you have metal spools. Okay, guys? Sorry if I didn't mention that. There you go. So you just put it like that. See? So the spool doesn't touch anything there. You have to do the same thing on this part. So okay, now we can take our tape and start to rewind it. Okay, as we said, this is tails in, so we have to rewind it. As you can see, the tape has a brown, light brown, and a very dark gray-brown oxide. This part has to be on facing outwards, while the brown part has to be read by the heads, okay? So now I'm touching the tape. It's just the first part, but never touch the tape like that. It's better not to. Otherwise, you're going to leave your mitts and your fingerprints on it, your oils, okay? So always rewind it a little bit like by hand like that until it catches, it grips on. Okay, and at that point, we have to rewind. As you can see, this command, you can start very slowly, as I said, and then you can go faster. Okay, so we don't need to go all the way back. It's just to hear a little bit of the sound. As you can see here, there's a lot, I think you can see it, there's a lot of oxide coming off. Unfortunately, when you rewind, the high speed does stress the tape and a little bit of oxide comes off. That's normal. But if you have the time, always rewind the tape very slowly so you're not going to have this issue. Also because it gets everything dirty. So, as I said, this is a German winding, so you usually have to twist the tape. In this case, I already had it winded for this machine. That's why it's correctly set. Okay, I forgot to say this. Okay, so let's listen, guys. Let's go a little ahead. Okay, I want to turn up the volume a little bit. Okay. Well, okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, analog quality is amazing, is above digital. The warmness, the saturation, that realism that it delivers is something that digital cannot face yet, I guess. Or at least the productions, actual productions, do not keep in mind the dynamic, the timbre, the quality that sound reproduction should have, as the engineers did back in their time with these fantastic tapes. Okay guys, again, remember that music is born analog. Bye.